I just got good at understanding the word no, and no just really means no, not now. And you got to make sure that you're spending the right time in the right areas. And if you don't do enough fishing, you won't have enough fish to keep your company around.
Welcome to the Digital Empowerment Podcast, and today I'm super excited to have a new guest. So Nelson, thank you very much for taking time out today. If I hand over to you and let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your past and what you're doing now.
Awesome. Well, my name is Nelson Paredez Parks, and I'm a talent manager here in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and I've been representing talent now for over 30 years. And I've always been coaching. I've always had some sort of business venture going on in my life. So I'm super happy to be here today and talk a little bit about the entertainment business and business in general, and how business is evolving and how it's being integrated into the AI world and how quickly things are changing in the world now. So thanks so much for having me as your guest today.
Amazing. And I've got about 200 questions for you as well. So
Yep.
We better get started. So you mentioned AI. So how do you see AI transforming the talent management industry in the next couple of years? And how are you even and other companies trying to stay ahead of this?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit about kind of my history and how AI got integrated into some of the things that I've been doing. So many months ago, I was talking with many of my colleagues in the entertainment industry, talking a little bit about ChatGPT and where it was going. And many of my colleagues said, ChatGPT, what? They didn't even know the word back like 9 months ago. And so I thought, wow, I better start really understanding how AI may integrate into the entertainment industry. So I created a website called theAIexperts.com, and it's with XPERTS. And it was just an educational website resource center that I started just putting together just for me to understand the AI world a little bit. And then I created a Zoom with about 90 agents and casting directors that I invited to get on the Zoom. And I had 5 different guests that appeared on that Zoom with me. And we just, it's just an inquiry on what AI is, what are the complications with it, what people should be using it for, what people maybe shouldn't be using it for. And it was coming about at the same time that the strike was going on here in Hollywood. And obviously, one of the contentious points in the whole agreement process was the concept of AI and, if that's going to take away jobs from writers and actors and that sort of thing. So I just started learning more about AI and how you could use it, and started implementing certain things within my own business. And I talked to my staff and said, hey, let's start using AI as a tool. So, I don't think that AI is necessarily going to replace everybody, but it's going to replace people that don't know how to use AI and integrate it into their current business model. So I think it's important in any business nowadays to figure out how you can, as a busy entrepreneur, figure out how to integrate AI into your model.
Very, very interesting. So is there specific tools then that you would use, digital tools that you would use and platforms today? You mentioned already, I guess, ChatGPT. Is that one of your go-tos that you...
Well, yeah, and you want to learn how to use it and ask it the right prompts, and obviously we use things like Fathom, Note Taker, and we have a lot of different programs that we're using to help us even write things, a little faster as far as how-to book manuals. I have another website called kidsontv.com, and we're going to be rolling out numerous entertainment products that are teaching parents how to get their kid into the entertainment industry. And again, that website is called kidsontv.com. And again, as I've been managing kids in Hollywood now for over 30 years, I've become an expert in that field and pretty connected and know kind of what we need to do to get a client from point A to point B with their career. So I'm rolling out a series of eBooks that will be coming out in the next 90 days. So for parents that want to learn about the entertainment industry, and I'm using AI as just a way to help get product out faster for people. of the old school mindset that we need to, be critical thinkers. And many of the ideas, that I'm putting together are obviously stemming from all my years of wisdom, but I'm learning how to use AI and tools that the AI has the sophistication now to be able to help us. So it's finding that fine balance of like, when should you use AI sort of in your models and when you should not. So I'm still learning that process. And it's been a very fascinating thing that I realize how much I don't know every single day. I find out there's one new company, there's one new program that you could be using that might help you speed up your process a little bit. So I have, my assistants like keep copious notes of like all the many programs that we're researching right now. But I think, you want to be a critical thinker now and find, faster ways to do things to stay ahead of, the competition.
Wow, and I love the way you're using AI to scale and get your knowledge out there and reach a bigger audience because, as you say, I know locally, I can imagine you're helping a lot of young people through the seniors, but I can imagine internationally there's a lot of people that would love to get a little bit of your expertise as well. We talk about digital, and of course we can't escape social media. You manage a lot of young talent, and I know through the ages. How do you recommend, or how do you guide or give advice or help a young person, a young talent, build and engage an audience online today?
Well, I've done this for such a long time now. I'll tell you a little history on like how I got started. I started as a kid actor in Chicago and toured with Second City Youth Company as a teen, and then worked in casting. I worked for 4 different casting offices out here in Los Angeles in the commercial world, and then was an acting coach and taught thousands of kids as an acting coach, and then, became a manager. And so I've helped their parents navigate the world of how to get into the entertainment industry. And I've built people up from the beginning of their careers, just to kind of give you a couple names of people that we've, built. Alessio Scalzotto was a kid that I started. He was in a project called Rim of the World. And another client by the name of Elias Barnes, we put him in a series called I'm a Virgo, and Cruel Summer. Aria Brooks, who was in a project called High School Musical and was also a series regular on a series called All That. Ethan Childress was a kid that we discovered and found, and we put him on the show Mixed Dish. Mixed Dish, was in that big Blackish family series, and that kid, was one of the leads of that series. Folly Rocco Tahonaba, he was a client that I've worked with for, going on 10, 11 years now. And we just put him on a series called Unprisoned. He plays the son of Kerry Washington. So I have so many kids like that I've started as kids and developed them into young adults and growing actors. I think my longest client that I've repped, I started him when he was like 5 years old in the film Antoine Fisher with Denzel Washington. And then he did You Got Served. Then we put him on the show Lost. And then we put him in a band called MKTO that went platinum. So again, over the years, we've learned how to develop, mentor, help a client start getting stuff on their resume. And it's been a very fun process along the way. I've traveled, extensively all over the world with my clients. Like with Malcolm, I flew with him to Hawaii many times, and I've been to Europe with certain clients, and I've traveled back and forth to New York when we have clients doing premieres. So it's been a fascinating journey and fun process. But we've gotten good at learning, like, what are the steps on how to help someone get into the entertainment industry. But for us, our approach is very different because we want to make sure that we're helping people stay normal and not let celebrity status kind of get to their heads. So the way we do it is a little bit different than most managers. We like to come up with a wholesome approach that really makes sure that they balance their life. My objective with any client that I work with is they become good with their time, their money, and their boundaries.
Wow, and we see a lot of stories from sports to acting where people have not followed that path, and sadly things have gone out of control, and it's not been a good end to the career. So it's amazing that you're able to see the progression of your young talent all the way through for 25, 30 years. Absolutely incredible. What changes then have you seen in the entertainment industry over your career? Has it been major changes?
Well, I mean, I remember, years ago, the breakdowns. Breakdowns is a service that we all use as agents and managers, where I remember the days where it wasn't even sent electronically to us. I would get, a stack of papers every morning underneath my door with all of the many projects that were coming out that day. And then I would go through my file cabinets and actually pull out each headshot and put stacks of headshots together and then head over to the production company or the casting office and actually pitch specific clients. And it was all done in person. I would go in person, get in my car and drive over to the studio. And now it's very, very different. Everything's electronic. Everything's a click of a button. You can, do that from your cell phone, so it's a very different world, and it's a little bit more immediate. Things have to happen over the second the breakdown comes out. Your office needs to make sure that your office is on it. So I have a team at my office that really is on top of their A game and pushes our clients and make sure that we get our clients to that next level. So it's the industry definitely has changed, and I think it's going to continue to change. And one of the things that I started looking at as a business owner is like, how do I reinvent what I'm doing as well? So a couple years ago, I started seeing, the writing on the wall when the pandemic started. And I thought I need to start thinking out of the box and start creating, some sort of other structure or entity. And I built this other business and brand called Help and Answers. It's now a subsidiary of the ESI network, where I am a business and life coach, and since I've managed so many actors over the years, and honestly, I've done that where I can work for an actor for years and not make a penny on them and really work on commission only. And my business coach that coaches me said, Nelson, you got to start thinking out of the box. Why don't you create some sort of other structure where you could help business owners and entrepreneurs learn how to scale their companies up and go to the next level? And that's exactly what we've done. So we built a brand called helpandanswers.com. That's a business and life coaching service that helps entrepreneurs grow and think out of the box. And the whole premise of it is the kind of questions you ask yourself in your life. And so my theory is that the questions that you ask yourself or the questions you don't ask yourself is the kind of life you're going to lead or the kind of business you're going to have. So it's truly about asking powerful questions.
Incredible, yeah. And I've been on the website and there's a lot of resources. I can see all the things that you're offering there. So do you see a lot of commonalities between, say, even the actors through to entrepreneurs? I'm thinking of resilience and the challenges of the knocks that you have to take as in both industries. You see a little bit of similarities there.
100%. I mean, I had a business where all I've gotten was no, 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 no. I remember the day where I couldn't even get a talent agency to return my phone call, and I would call and call and call and email and continue to try to open up the door to have people see my talent. And I just got good at understanding the word no, and no just really means no, not now, So I don't take a no as like a no forever. So I think that has had me become resilient. And with a lot of my clients that I mentor with, my business coaching, what we do is we take a deep dive into their life and into their business. And so what I will do is I will ask many questions of the entrepreneur or business owner and figure out like, what are those things that we need to be doing, questions we need to be asking to really set their business and or their life to win. And we go through, their goals, objectives. We go through your entire time in your life. One of the things that I used to do is I wore a stopwatch around my neck for 2 years straight, and I timed every single task in my life, how long it takes me to walk a block and how long it takes me to eat lunch and how long it takes me to take a shower. And so I wanted to understand the correlation of really what it takes time-wise to do every single task in my life. So that I have a clear understanding of that. Because again, time is our most precious resource. Money will come and go. We can always make more money and we can lose money as well. But time is a thing that the second that second is done, it's done. We will never get that moment back. So it is important for us to master our time. So one of the things that I do with our clients is I map out all 168 hours of their week, not to control it, but to understand that like that is the biggest resource that we have. So we'll map out, we'll look at your goals, we'll look at your time, and we'll see like what actual steps have to happen we can fulfill on the objectives that you have in your life. And then we'll plan out how many hours you're going to be sleeping and how many hours you're going to be driving and how many hours you do certain things in your life. And then we analyze, like, are you really doing the things that make an impact in what you're actually committed to? And we ask deep questions of ourselves, as I'm doing the coaching process with a client and or a company. And I find that many companies and the entrepreneurs are just not asking themselves deep enough questions on a daily basis. So that's one of the most important things I think that we'll focus on. And we do that with their time, then we'll do that with their money as well. And then we'll look at all the boundaries you have in your life to make sure that you have healthy boundaries around the people you're working with and your partners and your team members so that you have wise structures set up in your life.
Incredible. It sounds fascinating. Actually, a little bit scary, I have to say. I was getting the hairs are standing a wee bit because I'd be worried. I wouldn't like to audit my own time now, to be honest. But I could totally get it, as you say. Even knowing how many hours in the week at the top of your head, it's incredible. So there is a lot of distractions. We do have a challenge with productivity. So you go in and try and help these business leaders with these problems.
Yeah, I mean, we ask deep questions. We take a look at like different areas of your life, So you might start out asking yourself deep questions like, what one action step do I need to do today that would most impact my retirement? That would be a financial question. A relationship question would be like, what one relationship, if I call today, would most impact my week? So I have the business owners and entrepreneurs really start thinking about what are the deep questions. And it's a training process where each day we're asking ourselves more and deeper questions. And that actually gives you the proper to-do list for you. Instead of just reacting to everything coming at you all day long, you take the time to really ask those questions. And so I've identified a couple important meetings that I have to have with myself, and I encourage all my clients to do the same. So the first meeting that I want to make sure that I have each week is called my powerful question hour. So that's my time where each week I'm just going to ask myself powerful questions. The second sort of meeting I'm going to have with myself is my CEO planner hour. And that's the hour where I'm actually going to plan out like what are the important CEO type of duties that I as a business owner have. And even if it's just a one-person operation, which is just yourself, it's like you want to be planning. What are those important CEO things that you want to be doing? And as your company grows and as you add employees or independent contractors, then you start developing the plan for that. Then I'll have my financial hour. So my financial hour is where I plan, where's the money coming from this week? What money needs to come in? What are my expenses? Or do I need to cut certain expenses? Then another super important meeting that I have, and I have a couple of those a week, is my client fishing and mining hour. And that's a time where I'm always like fishing out and attempting to sign new clients, because your business is only going to be as strong as the new clients that you have that are coming into your, business and or machine. So again, you got to make sure that you're spending the right time in the right areas. And if you don't do enough fishing, you won't have enough fish to keep your company around. Then from there, we'll look at like your social. I have a social media hour where I plan like my social media campaigns. Then I'll have an organizing hour, which is like the time that I spend myself organizing. Each week it might be a little bit different. One week I'm organizing my desk. One week I might be organizing my car. But it's any area of my life that needs a little additional organizing time. And if you don't do that on a consistent basis, then again, all your spaces will be a mess. So one of the things that the Help and Answers program will have us do also is look at all of the spaces in your life, your digital spaces, your physical spaces, relationship spaces, all the spaces that we have, we wanted to kind of analyze. And then we'll have our team meeting hour, which is our 7th meeting of the week, which is like me meeting with my team. In the beginning, if you don't have enough team members, it might be like starting to plan, like what other team members do you want to try to enroll, or are you going to have an intern helping you out with something? And then the last kind of meeting that I'll have is my project hours. And my project hours are the actual hours where I'm working on specific projects that I'm committed to. So those 8 kind of meetings are the important things that I've just developed as a habit that I use in my life. And I help all my business owners to figure out how to implement those things, because we've identified that those are some of the critical pieces of making sure that you're building and growing a successful and thriving business.
Incredible. Wow. I was just blown away. And you mentioned a couple of things of work and personal life there. So do you see a challenge around work-life integration? The entrepreneurs have challenges?
I find that many entrepreneurs do. And again, that's about just how they're managing their time. Like, I just got back from Mexico late last night, and I went for like 8 days or 9 days and took a vacation with my family, with my wife and my daughter. And so you got to make sure that you're carving out that time. Just as much as you're planning your work, I also plan my personal fun time. It's an important, habit to have. It's just a way that I've lived my life for years now. And so even when I go on vacation, I check out. I will take my time off, and like everything can wait. And my team knows that if it's an emergency, they can call me and reach me. But honestly, you have to have your downtime. So you need to create, again, that comes down to those boundaries. What are those boundaries that you have in your life, both personally and professionally, to make sure that you can thrive? Really the Help and Answers program is a way for you to create the rules, guidelines, and boundaries for your life and business so that you can thrive. And a lot of times people think of like rules as like a bad thing, or like, oh, like I want, it's constricting. It's actually very freeing, because when you actually have systems and structures and guidelines that help you win, it's actually a very freeing place to live from. It's a lot, and you end up having a lot more fun in your life. So I've just found ways to help my clients grow and get to that next level, and it's creating systems and structures that make sense.
Incredible. And entrepreneurs, do you help them, and even actors then as well, do you help them with creating their long-term vision for their business and their personal life? Is that part of the program?
Yep. And ultimately we create a master business plan, because my thought is that every company in America has a business plan. So my belief is like, well, if every company in America has a business plan, then so should every individual. Your life is more important than a business. So you should have your own custom-made design game plan for what you're up to in your life. So that's one of the things that we help you do at Help and Answers.
Incredible. And again, I'm thinking back to like the two hats that you wear, the acting and the business mentorship. Client relationships are very important. Your client is the person. So how do you deliver great client services? How do you look after a client who is basically, I guess, the product or service that you're working on? How do you retain that long-term business and build, like some of those examples you gave us earlier were 20 years?
Well, I've traveled a lot of the world with a lot of my clients, and again, I'm mentoring my clients, always giving them good recommendations, like, oh, let's read the good book on such and such, or let's so. I give them referrals to a lot of different things that help their lives. So like I introduce them to the right attorneys and to the right accountants and to the right PR teams and to the right social media platform companies. And like, so I have a lot of relationships all over, the world, and I help them continue to grow in their life. So I think I don't even look at it as working, really. It's like each day I'm playing a game, and I'm trying to make a bigger game each day, and I'm trying to impact more and more people. And so the more people I help, the more my business grows. So it's not just focusing about the money. I mean, obviously that is an element of any business. You need to make sure that you're accountable and keep growing the financial structures of what you're up to. But really it's about helping more people and impacting more people's lives and helping people solve more problems. So that's really what I'm committed to do. And it's a fun journey, and it doesn't, I figure out how to make win-win relationships work. Relationship doesn't work unless it's a win-win. You have to be getting something out of it, and so do they. And you have to figure out, like, what is that exchange, Sometimes when I find, like, I made an agreement with a person this morning. So he didn't have, like some of the resources to be able to do some of the things he wants to do in his life. So I said, look, you have an asset that really was beneficial to me. Let's do a trade. We're going to do this for a period of 6 weeks to 2 months. And he said, great, let's go for it. So with certain clients, if I feel like, there's a scenario where we could do that sort of situation, I will do that if it makes sense. And again, I have guidelines and boundaries for that too. I can only allow a certain amount of those sort of relationships in my life. I generally will have 3 a month that I can focus on in that capacity, and everyone else would be like a general paying client. But I find win-win situations in all of the many elements of what I'm building, on a day-to-day basis.
My last question, I guess, and I'm just thinking, the longevity of some of the actors and business people that you've worked with. How do you support resilience in a career? How do you help people avoid burnout? Because it is intense in both sectors.
I mean, it's really about mapping out a game plan, and balancing your life, So again, it really comes down to boundaries, I've mentored a lot of successful celebrity actors that I've helped build, and it's the wise actor will come to me a lot of times. Like I had one woman that called me when she booked a series, and the first thing she said to me, she said, Nelson, I know myself, and I know that the first thing I need to do is that you need to help me find a therapist, because I don't know I'm not going to be able to handle the success and the income that's going to come from being a celebrity actor on this major hit show. So I need to make sure that I have, someone that could just mentally help me, And again, as much as I do mentoring and business coaching, she actually also wanted to add an additional person to her team that was specifically just for the personal therapy section of things. And we added that person to her team. So I think, people that want to get to the next level of their lives, they need to look inwards, ask themselves lots of questions, and then grow their team. And, that's how you move anything forward, is by a wise team. I do not do all the many things I do by myself in any way, shape, or form. I have great people that are experts at what they do, many times better than I am in certain areas. So I seek out people that generally are better than I in everything they're up to.
Incredible. Nelson, thank you very much for all the advice that you shared today. You mentioned a couple of websites as well. We make sure we've links underneath the video so anyone can click through. But if anyone wants to reach out, find out more about what you're doing,
the best way is, like, if they want to connect with my socials, it's at Nelson Paredez, Paredez Parks. So it's at Nelson Paredez Parks on Instagram. And helpandanswers.com is where you might want to reach out if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur that is looking or thinking about like what a coach could do for you. I think every successful business has a coach. So my question is, who's yours? So if you're even in the inquiry on like what it might be to like have a coach and what we could do for you, like reach out on helpandanswers.com and fill out that form. And if you're looking more for, if you're an artist and, you want to figure out how to get into the business, you can go to kidsontv.com if you have a child that's under 18. And if you're an adult actor that's like worked, a bunch, reach out to us, at the company, the esignetwork.com, as that's the talent management company that I've had for 30 years that helps actors, build their careers and brands to the next level.
Incredible. Amazing. No, brilliant. We'll make sure we get all those links underneath the video. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me as your guest today.